You got your blue belt. Congratulations. There's no question you walk into any gym, they're gonna say, wow, that guy is undeniably a blue belt. But maybe you've been training for a while now, 1, 2, 3, 5 years at a blue belt, and you're thinking, what do I need to put on that next belt? What do I need to wrap this purple thing around my waist? Well, not that you should be chasing belts, but I'm here today to show you what I believe should be a universally sound purple belt. What you can do to make sure that you can be undeniable when you walk in any gym. I have 9 things that I'm gonna lay out for you today, which I believe can make your purple belt undeniable. I'm gonna lay out these 9 criteria, and if you're not quite there yet, that's fine. I'm gonna lay out in each one of these criteria what you can do to make sure you can get to that point. So trying to lay out some behaviors or some things that you can work on to make sure that you can get to this criteria, or work on things to help advance yourself to getting that undeniable purple belt. Just like the undeniable blue belt video, I'm gonna lay these criteria out in order so they kind of develop over time. And as you hit the first few, they lead into the next ones all the way down to the end where you should be an undeniable purple belt at that point. The first criteria to be an undeniable purple belt is you gotta have that blue belt. You gotta be an undeniable blue belt. If you haven't gotten there yet, go check out my previous video in this series about how to make your blue belt undeniable, and make sure that you possess all those skills, that criteria that I laid out there. I laid out what you need to do, how you need to get there. If you've already seen that video, you're already a blue belt. Thank you all so much for all the comments. Let's keep going. The second criteria is to be a good representative of the sport. We love jiu-jitsu. It's why we're here. It's why you're watching this video. And we've all gotten a lot out of it. One of the really important things for me is to share that with as many people as possible and that want to enter into the sport. And being a good representative, especially when you have a purple belt wrapped around your waist, is really important. A purple belt's a fun belt. Purple belt's like you're entering the expert levels. You're at least advanced. It was my most fun belt anyways. Not a lot of pressure on you, but you're pretty good. When people come in and see who's training as a purple belt and up, you should be really welcoming them in, inviting them to train with you. You don't have to do it with everybody. Obviously, if you're hurt or anything like that, you want to be careful, but just making sure that people feel welcome. That's whether it's a brand new trial member or somebody visiting from another gym. Just, introduce yourself, make them feel at home. These are all things that can help grow the sport and make people feel welcome when they're in your gym or wherever you are. Same is true as if you're visiting another gym. You still need to be a good representative of the sport. Go in there, follow their customs, follow their norms, do what they need to do. If you don't like it, just keep your mouth shut, get through the class, don't go back there if you don't like it, and that's all. Be a good representative of your sport. You can think of it as a good representative of your gym, although that could be a little like wishy-washy with like cult behavior. I don't want to get into that, but just be a good representative of the sport. Welcome people in, welcome them to this art, share with them the knowledge that you have, and help it grow. As an instructor, when I have new people come in, I try to use the purple and brown belts and some of the blue belts as well, but to grab these guys and help them with a trial and help them kind of get through class. And I try to spread it around. I never put this on just one person, but it's part of that gym culture. Somebody did it for you, right? And whether you remember it or not, somebody took you and helped you through your first few classes or first few months, and returning that favor can be important. If you're really against this, I'm not gonna hold it against you. At the end of the day, if you're a paying customer to come into a gym, I get it. But going that little bit of an extra mile is important to me, and I wanna share that because hopefully that's important to you. The more people we have to train with, the more we can grow this sport, the better it is for everybody. Another part of being a good representative is you train with everybody in the gym, regardless of size or anything else you got going on, minus like injuries and things like that. Or if you have a wedding coming up, you might want to be protecting your face and things like that. But barring any of those kind of things, you should be training with everybody in the gym. You shouldn't be shying away from anybody. That's a big part of being a purple belt, is you can handle all different shapes and sizes. As a blue belt, it was all about handling people that were untrained of any size. Now as a purple belt, you're getting in there with everybody, and you're mixing it up with people of all different sizes and skill levels, and that's a big part of growing as an athlete, as a jiu-jitsu athlete. If you're not sure if you're a good representative of the sport, see if you're welcoming people in when they come in. It's a pretty simple thing to do. Greet them, welcome them in, ask them to roll or ask them to train with you. And also make sure that you're training with everybody in the room. So, in a week's time, try to hit at least most people up. I mean, depending how big your gym is, if you have 20 people and you get 20 rounds in a week, try to mix it up and get around it with everybody. I know we all have our favorite training partners. That's gonna happen, but try to spread it out. Get it rolling with everybody and try different things. The third criteria in making your purple belt undeniable is having an overall awareness in all different positions and knowing what to do. Doesn't necessarily mean that you can always do it. Like if you're with a really heavy black belt and they just stuff you, it is what it is, but you should know what you need to do in all positions. And for the most part, be able to start executing those things as well. And when I say all positions, I truly mean all positions. I'll get into some more specifics later, but there shouldn't be any positions anymore that you're like, what is happening? Maybe one or two here and there if it's very niche. But aside from that, I mean, you should not be getting tripped up in mount, side control, guard, any of those things. You should really have a nice solid foundation. And you shouldn't be really getting hit with any too many gimmicking things. Not that that's not possible to get hit with something that's gimmicky, but I'm talking about the basic stuff, like you're on top, you're trying to pass somebody's guard and they just kind of push you over. And maybe that happens once in a blue moon, but if that's happening once a class or twice a class or once a roll, that's a problem, right? You should have some basic base and just awareness of just simple things that people do that shouldn't really be happening to you. Again, take this with a grain of salt. There's always things that can be going on, but for the most part, that's what you're looking at for a purple belt. More specifically, your passing should be pretty solid at this point. You should be really threatening anybody purple belt and below with a pass, and your guard should be pretty solid too. It should be hard to pass your guard. And it should be a little bit dangerous too to even try to enter into it. Basically threatening on both the top and the bottom of the guard position is really important to having an undeniable purple belt. Part of that overall awareness as well is you can sweep, pass, submit people with a plethora of submissions. There's definitely a bunch of things you can do now. It's not just one or two things. You're really honing in and starting to develop a group of techniques and skills that is eventually going to start turning into a game, which we'll talk a little bit about later. If you're wondering if you're at this point yet, so behaviors to look for or what you can do to develop that overall awareness or just see where you're at. If you're rolling with an upper belt, a black belt, you should be able to pass my guard if I'm doing the wrong things at the very least, right? If I'm giving you openings, you should be able to capitalize on those things. So again, it's tricky in the training room. You're looking for over time, not just a one-time fluke, I guess I'm a purple belt now. It's just something that you do consistently, week after week. You're like, you know what? I'm starting to do this, I'm starting to do that. And that's when you're starting to say, that purple belt is looking a little undeniable. The fourth criteria to having an undeniable purple belt is to take an active role in your learning. Coach can't teach you everything because there's only so much time in the day. If you really want to take it to that next level, you need to be doing some research on your own, whether that's watching some YouTube videos and submitting some things to Stop, Talk, and Roll. Definitely can help you out there. Watching instructionals, watching competition matches, reviewing your own film, conferring with your teammates, checking out a different gym and conferring with some different coaches. You should be doing a little bit more work on the back end, right? There's only so much time we can spend in here, and looking and trying to learn everything from just one spot is difficult. I'm just starting to work on my takedowns. You probably are better off looking for somebody that's a lot better at takedowns than trying to learn them from me. I'm not terrible at them, but I have a long ways to go. If you want to get really good at butterfly guard, I'm definitely your guy, right? So just knowing who to go to for different things is really important. Taking an active role in your learning, though, is going to kind of bump you up to the next level because you can bring in different things and help grow not only your own game and your own style, which again, we'll get into in a little bit, but also that of your teammates and of your fellow jiu-jitsu athletes. If you do something a little bit better, they're gonna have to rise to that occasion as well, which again, comes back to that good representative of the sport, right? You're bringing up everybody, which is really important to me, which is what I look for in purple belts, and especially one that wants to be undeniable. If you're unsure what it looks like to take an active role in your own learning, it just means that you're at home doing a little bit of studying, checking out what's cool, what's happening, seeing what the next chain of movements should be for a move that you're learning or something that works for your body or whatever that may be. A good way to work outside of class a little bit is submit a round to me for Stop, Talk, and Roll. I'd love to review one of your rounds. The guys that have been on the show from my gym, I've mainly done my own gym, they love it. They've gotten so much better at jiu-jitsu. Just being able to watch yourself and then have a black belt or whoever, I mean, it happens to be me, look at your film and break it down, pause it, rewind, draw on it, make comments. It's really helpful. And I highly recommend that you get one in. I'd be happy to put you on the show. That's one way of taking an active role in your learning. Another one is getting instructionals. This isn't an ad for BJJ Fanatics, but they have some great instructionals on there. There's phenomenal stuff on YouTube all over the place. You gotta be a little careful because anybody can put anything on YouTube. Anybody can put anything on BJJ Fanatics too, but still, just be careful of what you're looking at and ask coach. I'm sure your coach, your professor, whatever you call them, can give you some suggestions of people that have influenced them and who to look out for. Some of my personal influences, it's cliche, but they're awesome. John Danaher, Gordon Ryan, Gary Tonin, Craig Jones. Those guys are phenomenal for a reason. Lachlan Giles is up there. Those are all really good people that I like to emulate and take their stuff and kind of put it into my game in the way that I see fit. Criteria number 5 for having an undeniable purple belt is having 1 or 2 moves, maybe 3, that are very high success rate against everybody in the gym. And that includes brown or black belts and or success in a competition setting. Moves that are just like your bread and butter, your A game, you can trust these moves, and they're really important. Again, keep referring to this game and style that's coming up. You can tell it's a big part of this, that are gonna lead into helping develop a game. For me personally, everyone that trains with me is gonna laugh right now, but no surprise, it's my butterfly guard and my hook sweep. I learned that when I was a white belt and it clicked right away, and I've used it ever since, and it's helped me flesh out my entire game from it. The 2 other moves that I had down that I still use to this day that I had a very high success rate from white belt on all the way through black belt and still is the Jaramello Special, which is basically a turnover Kimura from Side Control, which I absolutely love, from Mike Jaramello. He's got a fantastic YouTube channel, by the way, called The Happy Pill Project. I'll put it in the description below. Fantastic instruction, you should definitely check it out. And the third one was a reverse triangle that I used to do from the bottom of Side Control. And I learned how to make it a little bit more aggressive and incorporate it into different settings so I didn't have to do it from the bottom of side. It's kind of like the original buggy choke that I used to just torture people with. It's won all 3 of those things. Have won me a ton of matches. I absolutely love them, and I've built my whole game around them. So it's kind of weird to think like I have a passing game because of my hook sweep, but that's how I was able to understand that part of jiu-jitsu. When you have a move like that, 1, 2, 3 moves that are just really high success rate, you can always trust that they're gonna work, or some variation of them will work, and you can help expand your game out from there. They're really important. I think they're really important to get. If you don't have those moves yet, I happen to discover them by failing in certain things and going to my coach, Gino, at the time, my professor Gino over at Henzo Stanford at the time, and being like, hey, I was in a competition, I was in the bottom of closed guard, and someone just hugged my legs and I couldn't get up. I was a white belt at the time. I didn't know what to do. And he said, do you know what butterfly guard is? So he showed me what butterfly guard is, he showed me what the hook sweep was, and I fell in love with it. So I just went and asked coach a question, and I got an answer that worked out great. I took an active role in my learning, and now I have this move that I absolutely love, and it's helped me frame and understand jiu-jitsu just from this one little interaction I had with my professor. Ask your coach, be like, hey, I'm getting stuck in this position, and you gotta kind of look out for moves that you enjoy. And that's the thing too, is just whatever you happen to like, you can make it high percentage, you just gotta play with it a little bit. So if you're looking for those moves and you're kind of struggling, ask, take an active role in your learning, and get these moves down because they're really, really important for this next part of being an undeniable purple belt. Criteria number 6 for making your purple belt undeniable, and personally, I gotta say it's probably my favorite part of jiu-jitsu in general, aside from hanging out with people, is developing your own game or your own style. This is just awesome. Like, you're getting to a point now where you're starting to put things together. And it's not just this technique and this technique, they're coming together. Everything's coming together. This is a really fun time in jiu-jitsu. Taking your best moves and kind of expanding from there and taking your active learning, right? Your active role in your jiu-jitsu development and tying those things together helps you make a really complete game. I learned that hook sweep from Professor Gino, and I was hitting it on everybody for about a month straight. No one knew what to do because it was kind of a new position and we were a slightly newer gym. And I was a small white belt at the time, and I was starting to sweep the blue and the purple belts. I felt great. And then they figured it out. And I couldn't sweep anybody anymore. And I went back to coach and I was like, hey, what do I do now? Like, they're just plopping their foot up and I can't sweep them anymore. And he said, do you know single leg X or ashigarami? And I said, no. And he shows me that. And then suddenly I have a whole other slew of things to go in there, because after I learned single leg X, I learned near side X, and I learned X guard. And then I start learning all this other stuff and all these other sweeps. And suddenly I have a little game. And shin to shin guards in there as well. So all these things are starting to come together. My guard's getting pretty decent now. And then I'm starting to kind of identify as a guard player. Like, oh, okay, I like to play guard. I'm smaller in the gym, I'm fast, I'm flexible. These guys are way bigger, a little slower. They're really strong. I can get underneath them and move them around. Now I have a game. Now I have a style. And I can build off that. And that's what I was saying before, is I build off of that. Once I got that down, once I started being more successful with all those other things, the hook sweep started coming back into play. And sometimes I would hit it and I could hit it right into a knee slice. Right into a spinning armbar. And I can hit that hook sweep and I can look to take the back. I can take the mount, 3/4 mount. I could look to enter into the leg. There's just so many things I can do now, and it's all off of this hook sweep. It's all off of this little piece of my game, and that develops into a full-blown thing. What is a game? A game's not just knowing this technique and this technique and this technique. That's not a game. A game is imposing your will on someone in a jiu-jitsu match and knowing what they're going to do when you do a certain thing and already having the response ready to go. So when I hit my hook sweep and somebody steps up on a leg, I know that I'm gonna enter into single leg X. That's just what I'm gonna do, and I'm already anticipating that. I know that when I pass the guard, they're gonna turtle, I'm gonna go right into my back take series. So you might be thinking, how do I even start with that? That sounds like a lot. Well, again, coming back to that active learning, coming up and back into that like favorite move kind of thing, identify a favorite submission. One of the ways I did it is I was always trying to get to the back and choke somebody out with a rear naked choke or bow and arrow in competition. That was always my goal. So I approached it from two sides. So I had loved the hook sweep and I loved this rear naked choke. It was, obviously it's a very successful submission. And you could do what's called backwards chaining or forward chaining. These are really good strategies for developing a roadmap, if you will. I like to visualize it as a GPS of like, okay, I need to get to a rear naked choke and I'm starting at a hook sweep. How do I get there? Or I'm starting at the bottom of mount. And I'll explain this in a later video, this GPS idea, but how do I get to a rear naked choke? And what a forward chain or a backwards chain is basically developing that route. So backwards chaining, for example, for a rear naked choke might be, we'll start with the rear naked choke. Let's back up one step. Okay, to get a rear naked choke, I have to do a straight jacket system. To do a straight jacket system, I have to have the back. All right, to have the back, it means I have to have taken mount or gone straight to the back from, let's just make it simple. We'll get there from mount, right? So I'll threaten a arm triangle and they'll turn over. Okay, so to get into the arm triangle, I need to get their elbows above their head. Okay, to get their elbows above their head, it means I need to come in and get up under their elbows in the first place. Okay, to get under their elbows in the first place, it means I need to have mounted or been good in the mount position to get underneath their elbows. Okay, so we're gonna back up there. That means that I'm in side control and I'm looking to get under their elbows back in side control or from another position, where it be it. Okay, if I'm in side control, that means I need to be controlling their head. Okay, if I'm controlling their head, that means that I need to, and I'm in side control, that means I've had to pass their guard and control their head. Okay, if I'm doing that, I probably need to use some kind of variation of a body lock because a body lock's gonna involve controlling their head while passing. Okay, if I'm there, that means originally I was in their guard. For that to happen, I need to put them on their back. So I need to have taken them down or swept them. These are all things that you can backwards chain that starting from the rear naked choke, and learning all those things along the way now gives you a path to getting to the rear naked choke. And you can do that from anywhere. You can start from the bottom of mount. Okay, I need to escape mount first. I escape mount to a Rimiyashi Arami, right? Like, so a single leg X, or I think that's laying down single leg X. Okay, I sweep them from there. Now I get up on top. Now I'm back in that passing situation and I can just take the same map. I started somewhere else, but I get to the same spot and I can go from there. This is developing a game. This is developing a line, right? You can also do forward chaining, okay? I wanna start with a hook sweep. I sweep them, I knee slice, I threaten the spinning arm bar, they turtle, I take their back. You can do it that way as well. Forward chaining, backwards chaining. Really good strategy to developing a game. Another way you can develop a game is check out an athlete that you really like or you wanna emulate their style. And I don't mean copy, because they're gonna be somewhat different than you depending on size and skill level and experience, but emulate what they do. Try to do what they do and figure out what they're doing, either by watching their matches, which is what I used to do. We didn't have instructionals back in the day or as readily available as they are now. But see what they do on a competition floor, right? Try to copy those moves as best you can and adapt them to your body. And then learn from there and add in your own flavor and add in your own style. These are all things that you can do to help develop a game. And once you have that game developed, you're definitely on your way to saying that your purple belt is undeniable. The 7th criteria for making your purple belt undeniable is an ability to navigate legs. Now, I did say earlier that you need to have an overall awareness in all areas, and the legs are included in there, but I wanted to put this out there to be very clear. There's a lot of people out there that avoid legs, and nowadays you just can't do that anymore. It's a safety thing at this point. Everyone's training legs. I shouldn't say everyone, most people are training legs now. And you don't wanna be like myself, being a brown belt, almost black belt, and having no knowledge of how to navigate legs. At the very least, you need to be able to defend, but I would argue even further that if you really wanna be an undeniable purple belt, is you need to be able to attack from the legs as well. So what does it mean to navigate the legs? You need to be comfortable in the major positions and at least know how to get out or get into 50-50, cross ashi, straight ashi, etc. Outside ashi, all the major leg entanglements. And that's really important. You also need to be able to escape the major submissions. You know how to escape an ankle lock, heel hook, knee bar, toe hold, calf slicer, mainly just for injury prevention and just safety in general. But you need to know how to get out of these things. You should also be able to enter and exit these positions when you want to. Now, if you're stuck in double trouble, I'm not saying you should be able to just get out immediately, but you should, again, know the steps that you need to take to escape the position. Be aware of what's going on. Don't just be completely lost. And if you are, that's okay. You're not just quite there yet. Go ask your coach, develop that game, learn this stuff. And not only should you be able to enter and exit leg positions and leg entanglements when you want or need to, you should also be able to threaten some leg locks. Just a simple ankle lock is not enough. I wanna see you being able to throw heel hooks, knee bars, calf slicers, and toe holds. They don't need to be expert level yet, but you need to just start being able to navigate them. When you're looking at a brown belt though, you're really gonna need that. So I would put some time and investment into leg locks, especially if you're training no gi. If you're not training no gi, if you're solely doing the gi, you can get away a little bit with not doing heel hooks, but I think it's only a matter of time before everything is legal, gi and no gi. The reason I feel this is so important is it just changes the game. When I was a purple belt, and funny enough, this video is about being a purple belt, I was working on incorporating leg locks into my game. I went out to a competition and it was very last minute, so I didn't cut weight. I was 154 pounds, not anymore. I was 154 pounds competing in the 167 division. So I was normally a featherweight competitor, and I was fighting in the lightweight division. My first round, I had my coach George with me, and we had been working ankle locks. So I was a guard puller, I pulled guard, I entered into a straight ashi, and he was standing. I collected his foot and got an ankle lock and got the finish within about 15 seconds. I'd never hit an ankle lock in competition before, something we were training, and I was really happy about that. George coached me right through it, and it was all good. I thought nothing of it, got my hand raised, walked off the mat and got ready for my next match. The rest of that tournament, I think I had 3 more matches, something like that. Those guys avoided me so much because they were so scared of getting their ankles broken. Not that I broke this guy's ankle, but they were so scared of getting caught with an ankle lock that they played very passively, very backed up. The guys in all their other matches were just driving forward, which is good and which is what they needed to do against me. But because they weren't able to navigate the legs, or at least didn't have the confidence to do so, it completely changed our matches. I was able to be the aggressor. I would pull guard, they would back up, I would roll up into them, sweep them over, get on top, and then maintain control and either submit them eventually from the top position or just rack up so many points that they weren't getting back. That's all because in that first round, I hit that ankle lock. It changes the game. I can lay out a bunch of other stories right here, but I do want to keep this as quickly as possible. I'm sure this video will be a little longer, but this is, to me, really, really important in making your purple belt undeniable. It's also really important to keep up with new technology, and that's what leg locks really are right now. Honestly, they're not even that new anymore. I would say there's new things coming up, like wrestling up and from the bottom and things like that. Takedowns in jiu-jitsu, takedowns for jiu-jitsu, those are kind of the hot off the press, like new stuff right now. But you gotta keep up with the times, and if you don't, you're just gonna get left behind, which is fine if you wanna play a different game, but that's part of the game now. If you're new to navigating legs and you're wondering where you should go, take that active role in your learning. It's a good opportunity to do that. There's some great instructionals out there. I've used, again, not an advertisement for these guys, I've just used them personally. Danaher's leg lock instructional, Gary Tonon's breaking legs and breaking hearts is fantastic. That's where I learned the most, honestly. Craig Jones' false reap accusations, he's just hilarious, but he's got amazing jiu-jitsu. And I cannot say enough about this last one, Lachlan Giles' 50-50 anthology, it's phenomenal. I haven't gotten a chance to see Gordon's stuff yet, but Gordon's always putting out phenomenal products, so I'm sure that's great too. Again, not an ad for these guys, but there's a reason they're at the top of the game. Their instructionals are fantastic. Those are a good way to do that. I also have Stop, Talk, and Roll. Please come check out the show. I have a pretty decent understanding of leg attacks at this point, and I'm starting to get some of the more advanced nuances of leg attacks, at least in my opinion. So I definitely can help you at least get started. Submit a round, I'll get you on the show. I'm more than happy to help you out. Criteria number 8 to make your purple belt undeniable. This one might be a little controversial, so hear me out, please, before you roast me. But number 8 is that you have the potential to be a mat enforcer. Now again, please, disclaimer, I'm not encouraging this behavior. I know it's very much of the past, but please hear me out. I'm saying you need to have the potential to be a mat enforcer. And that's really important to me because you should be able to handle people that come into the gym and that are just a little too rough or a little too this or that. Now, sometimes you might not be as good of a mat enforcer as you think you are, but at least you have the confidence to go out there and do it. That's what I'm looking for. Now, again, I'm not necessarily condoning this behavior, but let me explain a little bit. A mat enforcer is basically someone that gets brought in when someone is visiting the gym or whatever, and they're just rolling a little too hard, especially with maybe like the newer people or the smaller people in the room, and you need to just remind them what to do. Now, nowadays, we do that by this thing called talking and communication. But back in the day, wasn't so much. I know I'm not gonna name names. I used to be one of those people, and it was funny because I was only 150 pounds. And all it would be was the professor would look at me and give me a little, and I would know, okay, I need to go make sure this guy understands and he needs to calm down a little bit. And we do that by rolling hard with them. This is really stupid, not the way you should do it. You should do it by talking. But it's the confidence and the ability to do so that I think is important. The potential, you should have the potential to be that person if you need to. How do you know if you're able to mat enforce? Now, just like the last video with the blue belt, I'm not suggesting you go out in the street and find this out. But you should, essentially what I'm getting at is you're able to handle adversity. That is the really important thing behind this. You should be able to walk up to anybody on the mats and hang with them. Maybe you get your ass beat, but you should at least know that you're able to handle it. You're not gonna have these external behaviors of getting really upset or punching the mat or anything like that. Maybe if you're training really hard and it's a competition thing and the emotions are flying, that's one thing. But if it's just your everyday training, it's adversity. You're gonna be the hammer and you're gonna be the nail. And you should have learned this by now. If you wanna be an undeniable purple belt, this is something that you should understand. You might be thinking, what if they're like a brown or a black belt and they're just gonna whoop my ass? Well, go take that ass whooping, but you should be talking, you should be communicating. That's the most important thing. I'm not encouraging you to go do this behavior. I don't do this anymore. I don't ask my guys to do this. I just talk and I communicate. And if I have to keep talking and communicate, I'm just gonna ask them to leave. That's kind of where I'm at this point, because I'm not gonna put people in harm's way. And honestly, if you haven't gathered by now, if they're coming up to another gym and they're in a position where they need to be mat enforced, they're not gonna be making that criteria to be an undeniable brown or black belt, because being a good representative of the sport, coming back to that first or second criteria for a purple belt, is being a good representative of the sport, being a good training partner, going to a new gym and just being humble, being calm, following what's going on in that gym. If they're a hardcore competition gym, yeah, let's go, bring it on. If they're not, just recognize the room that you're walking into. I've been in all sorts of gyms. I've been to super high level competition gyms, and I've been to family owned, just really calm, we're just here to get a sweat in and have a good time gyms, and both of those are okay. Recognize where you are and do the right thing. Be a good representative and be ready to, if you needed to, you have the potential to be a mat enforcer. I'm not encouraging the behavior, but you have the potential to be. You can think of it also as facing adversity. And facing adversity to me is really important to being an undeniable purple belt. Last and final criteria, number 9, for making your purple belt undeniable is you're gonna start putting up a damn good fight against those brown and those black belts in the gym. Doesn't mean you have to win. Everybody's got different things going on every day, but you should know they should be good rolls. They should be good there should be good movement happening, which is really important in my book. I know the purple belts we have here, when I roll with them, I know it's gonna be a damn good round every single time. And I'm not looking at who's winning and who's losing. It's just you're bringing it to them, you're making them roll, you're giving them some good looks, and they're doing it right back to you. That's where you should be, especially at a purple belt level. And if you're not sure if you're able to do this, or you're not doing this yet, do the other 8 things on this list. Have those other 8 parts of being an undeniable purple belt, and you should be about there by the time you can do all those other things. That's kind of how this is designed. Again, I explained that in the first video of the blue belt and at the beginning of this one. You should be going through each one, and each one is a next step or a next rung on the ladder. Can you jump around and do different things at different times? Absolutely. But to truly call yourself undeniable, you kind of need to go through these things, and as you go through them, it's a natural progression to getting that purple belt, or at least being an undeniable purple belt. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all the support, all the new subscribers. I cannot thank you enough. It means so much to me. I've been plugging away with this for the last year, and it's really great to see some people coming in. I know it's still small. I didn't have as big of dreams for this channel as I once did. Now they're a lot bigger. I was just hoping to get like, 4,000 subscribers and things like that. And now just seeing the response to the Undeniable series, to Stop, Talk, and Roll, to the AI videos, it's just really cool to see you guys really responding well to the content I'm creating. And I really deeply appreciate that. Thank you so much for the comments that you've been leaving. They're so helpful. Somebody let me know that the audio wasn't working in one of them. I would have never known if he hadn't said anything, because it was working for me. And then when said that, I went and checked it out in a different capacity, and yeah, it was not working. So thank you guys, I really appreciate that. Please leave a comment below, like, subscribe. It means a lot to me. I have to do it for the algorithm, but it would really help me out. I really appreciate you guys. Stay tuned. I hope you're purple belts in your near future, being an undeniable purple belt, that is. Stay tuned. I'll have that brown belt one ready to go as soon as I start fleshing that one out, because that's a whole other ball game. Thank you guys. Have a great day.